But what this Seinfeld Congress is doing is more about what it refuses to do, which is govern. Instead, it passed a bogus resolution denouncing socialism, a largely symbolic effort that does nothing. Never mind that many conservatives were more than happy to accept taxpayer-funded PPP loans the first year of the pandemic. But I digress. So let's pause for a moment and call this out for what it really is. Boogeyman politics, a distraction, a narrative to justify their insurrectionist crimes, an embrace of white nationalism. And if the Republicans behind this farce knew what socialism even meant, they would know that that practice isn't a thing in America. But you know what is increasingly becoming a thing? Fascism. From Republican lawmakers appearing alongside Nazi apologists, to coup defenders getting plum committee assignments, to public expressions of belligerent nationalism and racism. We're getting a pretty clear picture of what fascism can look like in America. The stagnant, ineffectual party isn't just about dysfunction. It just isn't about failure to move an agenda. It's about settling a partisan score. That's what dictators do. Now, it may feel good in the moment, but it's bad for the country. Country, a concept largely forgotten by far too many in the modern-day GOP. Joining me now is Kurt Bardella, Democratic strategist and former House Oversight Committee spokesman, and Maura Gillespie, former aide to Congressman Adam Kinzinger and House Speaker John Boehner, and Sahil Kapoor, senior national political reporter for NBC News. Welcome to all of you. So, Sahil, what was it like on the Hill today, buddy?
It's quiet right now, Michael, but this has been a quite extraordinary start to the new Congress. I've covered this place for the last 12 years, and I've never seen anything quite so sluggish. I've never seen Congress start out so slowly. It wasn't until today that committees were even organized. So you had America's most powerful lawmakers sitting around twiddling their thumbs, not able to hold hearings, attend hearings. Over in the Senate, you had symbolic votes and multiple symbolic resolutions to take to take a stand against stalking, to take a stand against modern slavery that had no opposition, could have been passed by unanimous consent, but they had nothing to do to fill the time, so they held roll call votes for that. And of course, in the House, Republicans have this narrow majority. You're going to see a lot of fights. You're going to see a lot of drama, because one thing we're not going to see a lot of, Michael, is legislating. This majority is going to struggle to pass even symbolic messaging bills like they are on immigration and the border, which is a bailiwick issue for the House GOP. They're not able to get a bill on that passed as well, let alone things like appropriations and the debt limit, things that have to get done to keep the lights on. That's going to be the biggest legislative battle to come later this year, because, of course, they have to get that through a Democratic-controlled Senate and sign into law by President Biden to avert things like a government shutdown, to avert a calamitous, economic situation if the U.S. breaches the debt limit. So there'll be a lot of silliness, but there also comes a point of seriousness where we'll see if this Congress has what it takes.
Yeah, that's the question. Does it have what it takes? So Maura, Sahil's piece today used that terrific analogy of Seinfeld, a show about nothing, now a Congress about nothing, to describe this dysfunction. Do you think that's an apt way to look at this, or is there something else that we're missing that the Republicans may have planned in how they're going to open up and move this Congress?
Government moves slow. That is not a surprise to any of us, nor should it be. It was how it was designed. And when you have a divided government, that's even more prevalent, right? It's going to be a slow slog in some cases to get things done, because there will need to be coalition building. That is going to be a tough sell, especially when you have what people are looking at as tit for tat kind of things, like with the committee squabbles. But things will get done. It will just take some time and a lot of effort between members to overcome some of their more personal issues with each other and get to work.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, it's about getting to work. As you know, Kurt, you've been in that bubble a little bit. and Texas Republican Chip Roy told the Washington Post that he'd prefer that both parties acknowledge that there are people within their conferences who make offensive and crude remarks, but allow them to battle it out in committees, right? Rather than strip the opposing party of that right. But look, this is the tit for tat in the game right now. The Democrats did this, so now Republicans have to respond. How does this advance what the American people expect and want from this Congress? a divided government should not mean nothing gets done.
Well, this is the thing. I don't remember Republicans running in the midterm elections saying that they're going to be the best investigators that the American people have ever seen. I don't remember them running campaign ads saying we're going to kick off Democrats from congressional committees if you put us in power. I don't remember any of those things being central theses to the rationale to elect a Republican. And you know this because you ran the RNC. Yeah. So you understand how important campaigning and then getting something done is. When I see Republicans go out there, and the first impression they had was complete chaos with even trying to elect a Speaker of the House. The second impression is taking members off committees who did nothing wrong. Their only felony seems to be they told the truth about the Republican Party. And they can't get anything done on the economy, on inflation, on gas prices, on the laundry list of things that they said they would get done if they were elected. They have no answer for now, so they're going to put on this charade. It's really a reality TV publicity stunt spectacle, whether it's their sham investigations or these stunts right now kicking members off committees. What I don't get about this, though, is when you try to silence somebody, when you try to cancel somebody, you end up empowering them. People like Adam Schiff, Eric Swalwell, Ilhan Omar, they're going to be even more powerful and more important and visible because now they're going to have some free time on their hands when they're not on committees to go and make Kevin McCarthy's life miserable.
So Maura, actually, Kurt raises a very good point. So what do you do with a problem like Marjorie, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene's back on committee. She's been allowed back on. Here's what she's been doing with that very important job.
Can you tell me how much COVID cash went to CRT?
CRT?
Critical race theory in education. It's a racist curriculum used to teach children that somehow their white skin is not equal to black skin and other things. In Illinois, they received $5.1 billion at an elementary school there that used it for equity and diversity.
So everybody understands $5.1 billion for an elementary school.
Must be a nice school.
Now, in her defense, her communications director told Newsweek she misspoke and that she was referring to the entire Illinois school system, though there is, of course, zero proof of any of that money being used for CRT. So Maura, this is who Kevin McCarthy wanted by his side. This is who Kevin McCarthy elevated to a position of not just authority with the committee, but literally authority and seniority within the party. What do moments like this say to you? You've worked for a speaker. You've worked for a member on the Republican side. I mean, when you assess this, how do you see it?
I won't sit here and even try to defend Maura Taylor Greene. That's not what I'm here to do. I won't do that for anyone. But
you may need that $5 billion to do that, right?
Even then. But what I would say is that the committees should be set up where members are elected or assigned by their own party. That is how the system works. Right. And for a majority to usurp the will of the other party is not productive. In any case, we watched it happen when then Speaker Pelosi did it to Maura Taylor Greene and brought that vote before the House without having a full ethics investigation. We have procedures in place to protect the integrity of the institution. I think that's important. Again, I'm not saying that I think that she needs to be on these committees, but if that's the decision that the conference made and her constituents elected her.
So let's take your point and just go a little bit further with it. And I agree with that. The committee, the speaker, should be able to put people, in this party where he wants them. So you're telling me there was nobody else who could take the committee chair that she's gotten? I mean, that's the thing. What we're looking at. It's not that Marjorie Taylor Greene shouldn't have a committee. It's like, why are you taking someone who you know has that level of intellect with respect to the job, right? And put them in that kind of position. I don't think anybody begrudges, okay, she's a member of Congress. But shouldn't you sort of look at the totality of the caucus and go, how do we move forward so that we don't make a fool of ourselves?
You absolutely should. And that's upon the party leaders. Right. It's upon the members of the conference. Just like in the scenario with, and I would say with Representative Ilhan Omar, her colleagues elected her to be on that committee, whether you agree with it or not. Similar with Maura Taylor Greene, whether you agree with it or not. Right. Her conference put her in that position, and that was their decision. That's the will of the majority or minority. And you know, you don't have to agree with it, but
that's the way the system works.
You can't deny it. That's how the system works.
All right, so let's take that working a little bit further. You've got Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, who had this to say on the floor yesterday.
Gun-free zones are the most dangerous places in our country. The Second Amendment is absolute, and it's here to stay. A recent report states that Americans own 46% of the world's guns. I think we need to get our numbers up, boys and girls.
So what she fails to understand is that the U.S. makes up 4% of the world's population. That the other 54% is everybody else. Yeah. So how do we begin to make sense of this and have conversations around important issues like gun legislation, like criminal justice reform, when members of Congress just can't get the basic facts right? And instead of reaching for and lunging for the political opportunity to own the other side, whether it's Democrats owning Republicans or Republicans owning Democrats, the American people are sitting back watching this. And so issues like guns and other things don't get really addressed.
Right. Right. Well, I think, honestly, the answer, and this is going to sound partisan, but the answer is elect more Democrats if you want stuff done on gun reform, if you want stuff done on criminal justice, if you want stuff done on racial inequities and equality in America and police reform. Because it's not that both sides can't get their facts straight. Right. It's that one side has decided to surrender their entire ideological, high ground to a bunch of lunatic, moronic, misinformed, conspiracy-driven idiots, and they're letting them drive the ship. The reason why Marjorie Taylor Greene is on the Homeland Security Committee and the Oversight Committee, the reason why Lauren Boebert is out there having this outsized impact, because they successfully held the Speaker of the House hostage so that he could become Speaker, the weakest Speaker that we've ever had in American history, by the way. And they're letting the inmates run the asylum. You can't have an honest intellectual conversation with people who believe that there are things that, like, Jewish space lasers out there, man. That's just not going to happen. So the answer ultimately is, if you want more stuff done on the problems that really matter, if you want to stop mass shootings, if you want to stop school shootings, you got to elect more Democrats, because we're the only party that has actually stepped forward and say, we will do stuff on it. We got to have the numbers.
So, Sahil, in the minute we've got left, I want to pick up on Kurt's point, because in your piece you point out that dysfunction is not just a Republican thing. The Democratic-controlled Senate voted only 3 times in the entire month of January. And during the first month of 2017, the Senate voted 35 times. In 2015, it voted 46 times. Is it the Republicans' motivating force to keep Democrats from governing too, or are the Democrats getting it through their own kind of, dysfunction?
Yeah, it sort of depends on who you talk to on this one, Michael. The Senate came in on swore in its members on January 3rd and took several weeks off. Democrats say that there was a bigger problem on the Republican side to get, their members onto certain committees. And we have reporting that suggests Eric Schmidt, the new Republican senator from Missouri, was trying to kick one of his colleagues off the Judiciary Committee, and they all said, no, that's not going to happen. And that was part of the holdup. But, the Senate doesn't have a lot to do this month. The Senate typically tends to move more slowly than the House, and of course you need 60 votes to get most things done. But I will say, Michael, one of the most important things that's going to happen this Congress, and this will be a significant thing, is the Democratic-controlled Senate is going to approve a lot of President Biden's judicial nominations. They've already started that process. A batch of 39 judges has begun to move through the Judiciary Committee. Democrats have 51 votes now, so they don't need to jump through that extra hoop on the floor and do a discharge petition. I'm sorry, not a discharge petition. I'm conflating that with the House, discharge vote to bring it to the floor. And a number of Democratic senators I talked to say they can top or at least get close to President Trump's number of more than 200 judges confirmed over the 4 years. That could be the most significant thing that happens, in the next 2 years. And beyond that, I think it'll be a matter of whether this Congress can keep the lights on, can avert default. Michael.
Well, we're gonna stay tuned for that one, my friend. Kurt Bardella, Maura Gillespie, and Sahil Kapoor, thank you all very, very much.